His body was never found. No tomb, no marker, no monument, only legend. Some say a river was diverted over his grave to keep it hidden forever. Others believe that every one of the 2,000 men who buried him was executed on the spot, just to keep the secret. His empire was the largest land-based realm in human history, stretching from the Pacific Ocean to the edges of Europe. And yet, Genghis Khan died as he lived, mysterious, feared, and strangely revered. But how did a man born into poverty, hunted as a child, and leading a tiny tribe of starving horsemen become so unstoppably rich that his name echoes through history like a war drum? Please subscribe to this channel for more historical documentaries and dark corner secrets. This isn't just a story of conquest. This is the story of how Genghis Khan weaponized war itself, not just to dominate people, but to build a staggering empire of wealth. Not just coins and gold, but silk, spices, slaves, cities, systems, and something even more profitable: fear. You see, most conquerors in history won battles. Genghis Khan built a business model. Let's go back to the beginning. Not to the throne or the battlefield, but to a bitter, windswept grassland in what is now Mongolia around the year 1162. A boy named Temüjin was born holding a clot of blood in his fist. In the Mongol world, this was an omen of greatness. But greatness doesn't come easy on the steppe. His father, a minor chieftain, was poisoned by a rival clan when Temüjin was just 9. That same clan then cast out his family, his mother, brothers, and sisters, leaving them to die. The young boy spent his childhood hunting rats and scavenging roots. At one point, he was captured and enslaved by a rival tribe. He escaped by cracking a guard's skull open and hiding in the shadows of the taiga. This is not your typical rags to riches tale. This was rags to revenge. Temüjin didn't inherit a throne. He built an empire from horse bones and human cunning. But how did he do it? The answer lies not just in bloodshed, but in strategy, and more importantly, incentives. Because unlike the nobles and kings of Europe, Temüjin didn't hoard wealth. He distributed it. He understood something centuries ahead of his time. People don't fight hard for kings. They fight hard for profit. When he began uniting the Mongol tribes, often by force, sometimes through alliances, he established a new rule. Loot was shared equally among warriors. Rank didn't matter. Lineage didn't matter. If you bled in battle, you got your share. This simple promise turned farmers into fighters, rivals into allies, and horsemen into an unstoppable war machine. But it wasn't just about raiding. That's where most warlords stop. Temüjin, soon to be known as Genghis Khan, was building something bigger. A financial system forged from the wreckage of his enemies. He didn't just take cities. He turned them into factories of tribute. He demanded craftsmen, engineers, doctors, scholars, people with skills that could build not just wealth, but infrastructure. And most shockingly of all, he spared them. Genghis Khan, the destroyer of worlds, was also, oddly, a recruiter of geniuses. And here's where things get even more fascinating. Genghis Khan learned early that there was more money in control than destruction. So he invented something brilliant: the surrender or die offer. It worked like this. When his armies approached a city, he offered its leaders a choice. Surrender peacefully, and you live. Your people live. You keep your homes, you pay tribute, maybe send some troops, some taxes, some engineers, but in return, you're part of the empire, protected, connected, respected. Refuse, and he would erase your city from the map. The earth would be salted, the rivers would run red, and the survivors, if any, would tell horror stories for generations. It wasn't just cruelty, it was marketing. Fear became a financial weapon. Whole cities would surrender without a fight, terrified by the stories they'd heard. This meant less bloodshed for Genghis and more profit. A faster campaign, Fewer losses, more loot, and loot wasn't just gold. It was textiles from China, spices from India, silver from Persia, ideas from the Islamic world, and horses, always horses, from the steppes. Genghis Khan created not just a military empire but a global supply chain. By the time he was finished, trade flowed across Asia like never before. The Silk Road, once a patchwork of disconnected, dangerous trails, was unified under one rule: his, and it was safe. Mongol law made robbery on the trade routes punishable by death. Caravans that once traveled under sword escort now moved with confidence, guarded by the Mongol name itself. Traders wanted to be in his empire. Merchants paid to move through his lands. The warlord had become a CEO, but the money machine didn't run on goodwill. It ran on blood, discipline, and a terrifying new kind of warfare. Imagine an army that moved faster than any messenger could warn of its coming. An army that could ride 100 miles a day, each warrior with 3 or 4 fresh horses, switching mounts mid-gallop to keep the pace brutal. Imagine arrows that whistled death from 300 yards, fired from short, recurved bows with shocking accuracy, even while galloping at full speed. Now imagine 100,000 of these horsemen, fanning out across the horizon like a black wave. This wasn't just war, it was terror on horseback. And every victory was another deposit in Genghis Khan's war bank. Because unlike other empires that bled themselves dry, the Mongols made profit their priority. Take the sack of Zhongdu, modern-day Beijing, in 1215. After months of siege, the city fell. What followed was horrifying: plunder, massacre, fire. But in the chaos, Genghis didn't just pile up corpses, he took inventory. Gold, silver, jewels, artisans, weaponsmiths, bureaucrats. Anything or anyone of value was cataloged, seized, and redistributed. Women were given to his officers. Craftsmen were sent west to build weapons. Scholars were spared to record laws and improve Mongol logistics. Money was minted. The rest? Ashes. It's estimated that when the Jin dynasty capital fell, the Mongols carted away hundreds of wagon loads of treasure. But even that was just the beginning. Here's a little-known fact. Genghis Khan implemented a kind of proto-currency. He issued a paper system in conquered territories, backed by his name and enforced by fear. It wasn't about economics, it was about branding. If you rejected the Khan's money, you weren't just disrespecting him, you were defying the empire, and that had consequences. Now you might wonder, was he just stealing, plundering, living off other people's wealth? In part, yes, but that's what makes it brilliant. He turned conquest into an economy. His armies were paid in loot and slaves. His empire ran on tribute and taxation. And the more he conquered, the more the system fed itself. When he conquered the Khwarezmian Empire, modern-day Iran and Central Asia, he didn't just slaughter the rulers. He unleashed spies, diplomats, accountants. The Mongols absorbed the Persian knowledge of administration, canals, agriculture, coinage. One of his key advisors, a Chinese scholar named Yelu Chukai, who persuaded the Khan to tax cities instead of burning them. "You can shear a sheep many times," he said, "but only skin it once." Genghis listened. That's the real surprise. He wasn't just a brute with a blade. He was a strategist, a listener, a synthesizer of talent. He built his court not from family but from skill. A Muslim vizier, a Chinese scholar, a Christian scribe. As long as you were useful, you were in. This blend of ruthless war and adaptive intellect made his empire flexible. He could destroy a city one week and be using its engineers to build siege engines in the next. He could wipe out an aristocracy and then let their merchants thrive under Mongol rule. He created an ecosystem where power was portable and wealth followed it. And he wasn't afraid to rebuild what he'd destroyed, if it could serve the empire. In Samarkand, he leveled the walls, executed the resisting elites, but spared the craftsmen. The message was clear: Serve the empire and prosper. Resist it and vanish. It was a terrifying bargain. But it worked, and here's a twist you might not expect. Genghis Khan protected religion. Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, Taoists, they were all granted freedom to worship. Priests were often exempt from taxes. Why? Because he saw religion as a stabilizer, a way to win hearts while he took the wallets. Some are paid in blood, legacy, and memory. No matter how rich a man becomes, he cannot buy immortality. And for Genghis Khan, death came not on a battlefield, but during a campaign against the Western Xia, a stubborn kingdom in northwestern China. The exact cause remains a mystery. Some say he fell off his horse, others claim he was assassinated. Whatever the truth, in 1227, the great Khan died. His body was whisked away to an undisclosed location. The funeral procession allegedly murdered everyone they encountered to preserve the secret. Some say a forest was planted over his grave. Others whisper that even the trees were eventually destroyed to erase the path. His death, like his life, became legend. When Genghis Khan died in 1227, somewhere in the windswept mountains near the Liupan Range during his final campaign against the Western Xia, the news was not broadcast to his empire. It was whispered, carried only by a trusted few. The great Khan was gone, and the world was not yet ready to know it. The funeral that followed was unlike any in history. His body, they say, was taken back to Mongolia, to the land of his ancestors. But there was no golden tomb, no towering mausoleum. The greatest conqueror the world had ever known was buried in secrecy. Every passerby, man, woman, child, or traveler, was killed to protect the location. And when the grave was finally dug, deep in the remote Khenti Mountains, it is said that even the men who buried him were executed by other soldiers waiting in the shadows, and they too were killed. Some stories say a river was diverted over the burial site to wash away any trace. Others claim that a vast forest was planted atop it, erasing the ground from memory. Still others whisper of horses stampeding over the earth, trampling the soil until no mound remained. His grave, if it exists, remains untouched to this day, hidden somewhere in the emptiness of Mongolia. For centuries, adventurers, historians, even governments have searched for it. Satellite scans, ground-penetrating radar, local legends. Nothing has broken the silence of that soil, and maybe that's exactly what he wanted. And so the man who conquered the known world vanished into the unknown. But here's the twist. The wealth didn't die with him. It multiplied. Because Genghis Khan had created more than just an empire. He'd built a system. His sons and grandsons inherited not just land, but a fully functioning infrastructure of wealth extraction. It's easy to forget this part of the story. History remembers Genghis Khan as a killer, and yes, he was responsible for the deaths of millions. So, how did Genghis Khan build wealth through war? He did it by turning battlefields into boardrooms, by transforming fear into currency, by building a system where loyalty was rewarded, genius was promoted, and resistance was crushed without mercy. He was a warlord, yes, but also a master of logistics, a merchant of chaos, a ruler who understood that real wealth isn't just what you take, it's what you build from what you take. He didn't just conquer the world, he made it his business. And that business changed history forever. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries and legends. See you in my next video.